The neurological disorder this presentation will discuss is dementia. Dementia is an umbrella term for loss of memory and other thinking abilities severe enough to interfere with daily life. Dementia can affect loss of memory, language, problem solving, and other thinking abilities. The hippocampus is affected, resulting in memory loss and confusion. The temporal lobe is affected, resulting in memory loss and word recall. The cerebellum is affected, resulting in motor learning and motor activity issues. The cerebral cortex is affected, as well as the entorhinal area. This is where input and output relay happens for information between the hippocampus and the cerebral cortex. Pictured, you can see the hippocampus, the cerebellum, and the temporal lobe in the brain. Dementia is a disorder of consciousness. Individuals with dementia suffer from damage to various parts of their brain. One area that is affected first and greatest is the extended consciousness. This means our sense of ourselves in the flow of time. This can be thinking about ourselves in the past or thinking about our lives in the future. Our extended consciousness requires both our working memory and our explicit long-term memory. Working memory is a system of our minds that allows temporary memory space for the manipulation of information. For example, you're using your working memory when you are trying to remember a person's address while being told directions on how to get there. Or even when watching a movie or listening to a story, you are using your working memory to understand what the story or movie means. Long-term memory is the storage of information over an extended period of time. This can be memories from days, weeks, months, or even years ago. An example of using your long-term memory could be recalling something that happened at your family's last Christmas party. The picture on the slide shows a man using both his short-term memory and his long-term memory. In his short-term memory, he is likely thinking about what he last ate. In his long-term memory, he's thinking about a loved one who he has known for a long time. Autobiographical self means thinking about ourselves in general and understanding a fundamental sense of who we are. In the later stages of dementia, the core consciousness is affected. Our core consciousness involves our sense of ourselves in the here and now, as well as objects in the world and our relationship to those objects. An example would be the sense of ourselves holding a pencil and writing on paper. Through the early and middle stages of dementia, wakefulness remains intact. It isn't until the later stages that it is affected. Wakefulness is the ability to stay alert and awake. Once diagnosed with dementia, there are three main changes that happen to your brain. The first is your brain atrophies, which means gets smaller. There are also cells in the cortex of our brains that can be disrupted by having clusters that form in the spaces between them, or they may even knot together. This type of damage causes our brains to not function correctly. Some patients experience a decline in vision after being diagnosed with dementia. The optic nerve is affected as it controls our sense of vision. Blurred vision and hallucinations happen as a result of damage to the optic nerve. The abducens nerve is also a part of our vision. When the patient has loss of peripheral vision, that is due to damage of the abducens nerve, as it controls the motor lateral eye movement. Additional cranial nerves can be affected if a patient experiences difficulty with swallowing. The vagus nerve controls our motor for pharynx and larynx movement. The facial nerve controls motor for facial muscles. The accessory nerve is motor development for neck and shoulders, which elevates and opens the larynx for swallowing. The glossopharyngeal nerve has motor control of the pharynx. Hypoglossal nerve has motor for the tongue, and the trigeminal nerve has motor control for jaw and chewing muscles. It is broken down into three parts: the ophthalmic, which is sensory for forehead and scalp, the maxillary, which is sensory for cheeks and upper lip, and the mandibular, which is sensory for the lower lip, chin, anterior two-thirds of the tongue, and motor for jaw. Effects dementia can have on speech and language are aphasia, which is the loss of ability to understand or express speech. They also have difficulty finding the words for what they want to say. They must substitute words for what they are meaning or say nothing at all. Pragmatics is also affected. A patient with dementia may have an increasingly difficult time following a conversation, which in turn makes their social communication abilities impaired. Dysphagia may also occur, which is swallowing difficulties that occur in the oral cavity, pharynx, and/or esophagus. This creates issues with eating and drinking. Intervention that can take place for aphasia and pragmatics focuses on attention, memory, problem solving, and higher level thinking skills. This includes practicing learning more important information, making visual schedules and lists, using written words or pictures to help carry out tasks, making memory books to help remember personal information, and training family members and caregivers on how to communicate better with the person with dementia. Intervention for dysphagia includes swallow therapy to ensure eating and drinking are safe, exercise-based therapy to work on strengthening the swallow, and diet restrictions may be necessary. Several barriers occur for a client that has dementia. Functional barriers occur because the client experiences cognitive decline, which is a problem of brain function. Activity barriers occur, such as a client no longer being able to live alone. When cooking, they may forget to turn off the stove or leave the refrigerator door open. They may forget to lock their doors. They may run a bath, then never return and turn the water off, or they may be unable to pay their bills on time. Participation barriers occur when they are no longer able to experience education or employment the same. They can't retain information from school, and they can't perform their responsibilities and tasks at work anymore. What does having dementia specifically mean for a client's everyday life? A client will need strong support from family and friends. They will need to immediately begin working on their routines and daily tasks. Following schedules will be very helpful for their memory. In the following video, we will see a family interview of a girl with her father and mother. The father is in the later stages of dementia.
You're looking at
That's
the radio
right.
instead. Look over here. Hi.
There you go. Are you itchy? A little bit. All right, can you tell me your name?
Nicholas Allen Page,
Very good. And how old are you?
16,
When were you born?
October.
1942.
Very good. And where were you born? Do you know where you were born?
In the hospital.
Where did you grow up? Do you remember where you went to middle school?
Yep,
Where?
Roxborough.
Very good. ROX.
DORO.
There you go. Good. And let's see, what else?
His glasses up.
Okay.
Let's move
Mom's
your
going to
glasses
slide
up.
your glasses up for you.
There you go.
Okay. And where did you meet your wife?
My wife,
Who's your wife? Is it that lady right over there?
Mhm.
Is that your wife? And what's her name?
Arlene.
Good. Yesterday you told me it was Priscilla Presley and then Arlo Guthrie. You're very silly. And then, let's see, you guys moved to California, is that right?
Yep,
Where did you live in California? Do you remember?
We lived in the hills.
Remember that? In Berkeley?
Berkeley.
Yeah. And then you had a daughter, right?
Yep,
Who's your daughter?
Arlene.
No, that's your wife. What's your daughter's name?
Emily Page.
Yes, sir. Very good. Am I your daughter?
Yep,
Yep. Okay. And then we moved to Virginia. Where did we move in Virginia? Can you think of where do we live now? Can you remember? Charlotte.
Charlottesville, Virginia.
Good. Excellent. All right. I thought maybe you could sing a song for us.
Sing a song, a sixpence, a pocket full of rye, 4 and 25 birds baked in a pie. When the pie was open, the birds began to sing. Wasn't that a dainty thing except for the king?
Very good. What other songs do you like? I pack up all my cares and woes. Here I go, swinging low. Bye bye, blackbird. Where somebody waits for me, sugar sweet, so is she. Bye bye, blackbird. No one here can love or understand me. Oh, what hard luck stories they all hand me. Make my bed and light the light. I'll go home late tonight. Blackbird, bye bye. Do you think you could count to 10 for me?